Do you remember video game manuals? How good were they? I remember when my mum would drive my big brother and I home from the shops after buying a new Super Nintendo game, we'd spend the entire car ride reading the game manuals, like a sneaky little preview of things to come, like a trailer to a feature-length film. The thing is video game manuals, they're a thing of the past. Just like mum driving you home from the shops. Like these days, you'd be lucky to even get like a single slip of paper in a game case, and this is an ad. That's why I thought it'd be fun to take a look back at the long lost art of video game manuals. I thought I'd start off with a classic example of how video game manuals used to be presented with Secret of Mana. Now, Secret of Mana did the manuals so well. It had an overview of the game, it had images including some handmade figurines of the characters, it had a controller layout they called Buttons of Power. It even included a walkthrough for the first part of the game. And check this out, it has magic spells, items and weapons, little bios of the character, and one of the coolest things was it had a poster that was a map of the entire game, and on the back you can put that on your wall. How good does this look? Nowadays it's common for all that stuff I showed you in the game manual to be baked into a game. It's common practice for these games to have stuff like maps, tutorials and button layouts like just in there in a menu, like you could get it up in a button press. But do you know what else is common practice? Antipiracy measures. Now, the anti-piracy measures, they're so complex, like I don't even know how exactly they work, but back in the day, games used the manual as an anti-piracy measure. Enter LucasArts' Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis and its password system. To play the game, you would need to enter a randomized password when you booted it up. The only way to find the right phrase though was to decipher codes and instructions using the manual. I remember booting up a game and then having to refer to the manual and look at codes to input into the game to play. The cool thing is, the system that they use for the passwords in the game with these stone discs, that's actually part of the game as well. So even booting the game up made you feel like this swashbuckling archaeologist.
What do you know? A secret door.
It's all well and good to talk about game manuals from the past, but where are we at with game manuals now? Enter indie video games to show us how it's really done.
That demon just my way. Or something.
Have you heard about Demon Throttle? Demon Throttle is heavily inspired by top-down shooters of the 80s and 90s, and they went all in on the manual. It's got everything that games of that era had. Gameplay tips, lore, specialized art, but it also has this cool little secret. Like, check this out. If you rub this little fortune teller's ball, it gives you a cheat code. It's like this heat activated thing. It's like a secret Easter egg. It's so cool. Now, obviously, it's not feasible for all games to do this nowadays, but another indie game to the rescue. Check out Tunic. Tunic is an amazing indie game on its own, but one of the coolest things is it's got this game manual that's actually a huge part of the game. The instruction manual is a collectible that you gather throughout the adventure, and the best thing is, the place and time you find different pages line up with the part of the game that you're at. So, you know, you're in the part of the game where you're just figuring everything out, then bam, there's an instruction manual page for the controller layout and the how-to bit. There's also bits where the instruction manual will actually help you with solutions to puzzles or point you in the right direction. I also love how they include the memo section of the instruction booklet where you can see handwritten notes by the player, which is what you'd have to do back in the day. Tremendous. Game manuals are a relic of the past, and I miss them. So it's cool to see developers do new and inventive things to include game manuals in their games now. Now, if you have a cool game manual nostalgia story, make sure you share it in the comments below. Until then, this was the game that came before Manual Edition. See ya. Haven't figured out how to end these yet. Cut.
All right, I'll drive you home, Harry.
Okay, thanks. Oh, I can read a manual on the way home.